supposedly had texted this student, I want to drink your pussy juice through a straw. Through a straw! Through a straw!
Welcome to Goober Time with Dr. Chris Chismore, hosted by Tom and Griffin.
We are your hosts, Tom and Griffin.
Unfortunately, our illustrious friend, Dr. Chris Chismore, is away on his important research and unable to host a podcast this week.
But fear not, dear listener, because he has left us in charge, and we are going to try to do a really good job of a podcast.
This week, Dr. Chismore has asked us to talk about
Education.
So then what has been going on?
This week,
everything you're legally allowed to tell me.
I worked a lot. Maura, Jordan's friend Maura was here last weekend.
Tom already doxing women.
That's just her name. I posted it to my Instagram. We went on a hike.
That's nice.
I already doxed her online.
Doxed her online.
Her Instagram presence. You know her.
And I know her, and I saw her, and I met her, a while ago.
Yeah. So she was in town, and she stayed till Monday, and then she left. And, she stayed the perfect amount that a guest should stay, which is like 3 days.
That's great.
And it was nice. And then I worked the rest of the week, and I went to the Glendale YMCA to work out.
Oh, did you see any glimmers of hell?
Yes, but it was relatively quiet. I did see a child, this was like a grown child, but still a child. Like a grown child is like 10, 11.
Okay. An adult child.
Like a big child.
Sure.
Like it wasn't like a child that's like, oh, it's a 4-year-old kind of climbing.
Gotcha.
This was like a grown child just fully climbing on one of the shoulder machines.
That's been going on there a lot lately. A lot of children running around where they shouldn't be, where they're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, so I saw that. That was a little glimmer of hell, but I was like, she's just a kid. That's what kids do.
I told you this already via text, but our friend Brian saw in the sauna.
Yes.
A full-on blowjob.
A blowjob. Didn't he say a homosexual blowjob?
I don't think that's how he described it.
Someone said a homosexual blowjob, which is like, it's in the men's locker room. What else is it going to be?
I don't think he specified.
Okay.
Yeah, he said he walked in and he saw the fellas going for it, and he said, I'll come back later. Which is such a beautiful response.
Yeah, it's funny to even say anything. I think I would have said, I'm sorry, or just not said anything and then turned around and walked out.
Yeah. I'm trying to I don't know what I think I would have had some kind of weird impulsive reaction of, sorry, and then left.
Have you ever walked in on two people having sex before?
Wow, incredible question. Not that comes to the top of mind. It comes to the top of mind? No. Have you?
Yes. Oh, there was one time in college where my college roommate at the time, his name is Drake. There are these two girls, and one of them, like, we're drinking, they get kind of drunk, and she's like wants to hook up with one of the guys, one of us. And Drake's the drunkest and kind of like the one who makes the first move, and so they start hooking up on this futon, like, above us. Mm-hmm. And like we're still drinking, we're like, whatever, people can make out above us, it's not a big deal. Well, then they start full on like having sex,
Drake,
and like just start taking off their clothes, like full naked, not just like, oh, we're gonna take off our pants, we're gonna have sex, like quietly. They full on taking off their clothes, having sex loudly
above
us. It was me, one of the girls who was also visiting,
and then a dorm room?
Our friend Tad, who was also in a dorm room.
Good God.
And so then we were like, what the fuck is going on? And we're like, you guys are having full on sex, and they're both hammered, and they're like, yeah, we're having sex. And like we stand up and we look at them, and I was like, we need to get out of here. I don't want to be a part of this. This feels gross. And so we left.
That's awful.
Yeah, it was bad. But I remember it. And I think we shamed him for it. He was one of those dudes where it's like, he technically had no shame, but you could tell he was a bit ashamed.
And here we are shaming him again.
He would lean into it and be like, oh yeah, man, I was just having a good time. Like, oh yeah, it was crazy, but I meant to do it, and that was a good thing, and I can't do any wrong. But you could tell he was like, like, oh, that was yeah.
I don't think I have any experience even close to that. See, I feel it's like something like that would have happened at like summer camp. Rounding a corner, and there's somebody hooking up in a bathtub. Did I tell you about I think I've mentioned this before, the bathtub next to the caretaker's house.
Oh, yeah.
Somehow that was like a place to hook up. An outside like bathtub, just like a detritus. It was just sort of junk in the yard, and people would fuck in the bathtub. And I don't even want to fuck in a normal bathtub when it's installed in a house. I don't know how you do that, but I guess it's teens.
Yeah, it's a little too slippery, and the depth, there's not much. You can't, unless there's water in it, you can't really get mobile in a bathtub.
Right, would be tough. But college sex party, that brings us to exactly what Dr. Chris Chismore wants us to talk about today. Education.
College sex party, you just said that as you know that's a thing.
Well...
Or you were saying you went to one.
Oh, no, I was just throwing words together.
Oh, okay.
No, you were just talking about hanging out with your friends and then somebody started fucking.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all I know.
Okay, college sex party.
Is there such a thing as a college sex party? For sure. Somewhere. Yeah. I'm going to guess at the University of Arizona, they're doing stuff like that.
Yeah, Tempe, yeah.
Yeah, where they're not focusing on education.
Or Arizona State, sorry.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, both. Do you think... I wonder if is there a reputable school in Arizona? College.
Incredible. Incredible. I'm going to guess there's got to be a couple of those small liberal arts schools no one's ever heard of. So it's got a name like Clar. Oh, I went to Clar.
Clar U or Clar State?
I went to Clar University. Yeah, or it's just in upstate Arizona. Off in the desert. No one's really heard of it. It's attendance of maybe 1,500 people.
Yeah. But it's where
those are sort of more in the Northeast. It's funny to think about those just out in the desert.
And you said upstate Arizona.
In upstate Arizona, just north of Prescott.
Prescott?
I think they pronounce it Prescott.
Prescott, yeah.
But it's Prescott, Arizona.
Okay.
Now that I'm saying that, Prescott sounds insane. Yeah. But I could swear I was there one time and somebody told me that, but they might have been pranking me. Was your school a party school?
Yeah,
no,
I think
yours
so.
was hard to get into, though.
No.
Yours was like an education. Yours was an educational college.
Mine was the Harvard of Northeast Georgia.
There we go. Is that what they say?
No, I said that. Okay, I made that up. I was
good. I was worried.
Yeah, I mean, it's harder to get into than maybe other SEC schools, but it's not. I wouldn't even say it's the top SEC school.
I couldn't get into it.
Really?
I tried. I think I was like, this seems like a good school. Would you consider yourself well-educated?
I would consider myself well-educated in the sense that I've checked all of the education boxes of like...
Middle school, high school, first grade.
Yeah. Middle school, elementary, middle, high school, college.
Oh, you skipped preschool. Interesting.
Yeah, preschool, yeah.
Tom was, you were in the, the advanced children's pool. You're allowed to skip preschool.
Yeah. Yes.
Were you ever, first off, that was I don't know if that's still a thing, but like gifted, it was like gifted classes or gifted programs. Were you aware of that at all?
I was aware of gifted programs, and I was never a part of them until I never got chosen naturally. And then I think the middle school I went to, I got placed in like a particular part of the school that was incredibly easy.
Okay.
Like it was the first time where I don't think I've necessarily felt this way since, but like, when you just get into a class and you're just like, this is too easy. This isn't what school should be.
Sure.
I think that I got placed in that part of the school where I was on a track for courses where I was like, this is way too easy. I'm in the top of every single class, and like I'm not that. I had never been the smartest kid in my class, and when I was the smartest kid in my class, I knew there's a problem here.
Yeah.
And I think I told that to my parents, and they were like, "Oh, well, you should see if you can get into the like advanced placement section of the middle school." And so I had to apply for it.
What?
I had to apply for it, but then I got
I thought you were talking about high school. That's crazy. You had that middle school.
High school, I was just took regular classes. I'd take the occasional AP, but it was mostly just like,
And I was in the gifted level of our religion class.
Really?
I was doing the best at religion of anybody in this school.
Yeah, you're the most brainwashed, the most devout Catholic boy.
The most brainwashed. That's actually the award they would give it at the end of the year. Oh, well, Griffin seems to have the most shame and guilt. He's clearly the most brainwashed.
Yeah, he's clearly the most advanced Catholic here.
When I do my big stand-up comedy special in 35 years, it's going to be called Most Advanced Catholic.
That's a pretty good name. I wish Jim Gaffigan should use that.
He could use that. If somebody, it sort of seems like a George Carlin special. I was aware in middle school there was some kind of upper level of like, I think the math class especially.
Yeah.
I think somewhere in like 5th or 6th grade, the math class I was in like sort of had this moment of self-awareness like ripple across the room. We were all like, we're in the dumb class. There's a second class and they're learning other stuff. I think the teacher kind of was like, let on. They're like, well, I was just covering this like a couple weeks ago with this other class. And we're like, what do you mean? Oh, well. And then I think it got back to them, or the teachers all became aware that like we were saying we're in the dumb class. Yes. And they're like, it's not dumb. It's not a dumb class. It's just
remedial.
Different. Yeah, for me, it wasn't remedial. I think it was just the other class was like more advanced in some way.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it was the dumb class. Two things. One, in high school, I was for whatever reason, I became aware that I am absolutely the best at the whatever level of chemistry we were, like AP chemistry.
Yeah.
I was slamming those tests, getting hundreds on every one of them, where you have to do like chemistry equations and shit.
Really?
Something about that I tuned into. But I loved being like the smartest kid in class. That was cool because I felt like I'm good at something, and it's like math related and complicated.
I don't think you've ever struck me as someone who knows anything about chemistry.
I don't anymore.
I know, but still, to say AP chemistry is hard.
Yeah, I was.
I think I tried
it.
Or my sister was in AP chemistry, and I remember her just being like, "This is the fucking worst."
For whatever reason, I loved it. I think I like just did well like early on, and then everybody else got like a fucking D, and I just like destroyed whatever the grade point average, and like got like 100% on like these like tests, and then I was like, this is my thing. Here we go. And I don't know. I just remember like it's kind of scratched a little nub in my brain that I liked. But then also...
And you made it out with an A. That wasn't just I just did really well at first and then...
did well the whole time.
That's insane.
And yet I'm so stupid now.
Well, I just did...
And this is what Tom's thinking to himself, dear listener. And yet he's such a simple man.
Yeah,
my foolish friend Griffin can nary wipe his ass nor feed his mouth.
Yeah, the guy who I watched make his first cocktail in his entire life at age 34, it was really an AP chemist.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not obsessed with alcohol. Mixing it up, doing whatever I can to hide from myself that I'm getting blackout drunk every Wednesday.
So what else? What other class? You said what was your second thing?
The other thing was that in elementary school, grade school, I used to call it grade school, and then I get in trouble for that.
Why?
People would think it's like kind of like bougie or something to call it grade. I don't know. Anyways, there was actually two things. One was I was like invited into like the gifted program. I remember like going to these classes and being given, puzzles of some sort. Yeah. And then I was disinvited from the gifted program. They fully were like, oh, actually, no, never mind. You're just weird.
Yeah.
It's just your brain just sort of it's not in backwards, but it's in kind of sidewards.
Yeah.
So that's not kind of what we're doing, like full on good brain stuff.
Well, isn't that weird? I mean, you saying puzzles immediately made me think of like standardized testing, which is like,
no.
Well, that to me is it's so weird that whenever they're like, oh, in order to get into this gifted program, they usually won't ask you stuff that they teach you in school. They just ask you about puzzles. It's like weird puzzles. It's like
it's logic and reasoning.
It's logic stuff, but it's like I never got a single logic and reasoning class in any schooling except for college, where you could literally take logic and reasoning. But it's just so silly to me that we're like, oh, well, we're not going to teach kids that, but we're going to judge how smart they are, whether they're like
they just possess critical thinking.
They just possess critical thinking naturally, where it's like, well, you should just teach kids critical thinking early on, and then
I don't know.
Give them like if you want kids to be able to do puzzles in funny little like a LEP is a ball. Did you ever have that part of your standardized test where they'd be like,
what the fuck are you saying?
You never got this?
A LEP is a ball?
Yeah, we get in standardized tests. We had to take
what the fuck are you talking about?
Standardized testing.
No, Did you have to do?
Is. Yeah, you have to do it.
What is
we had to take this thing called ISTEP, Indiana Standardized
Sure.
Aptitude Test, or I forget what the E was for.
Right.
I forget what I-STEP stood for. I used to know. But anyway, standardized testing, you take it like before you went into high school and once in high school and once in elementary school. Anyway, you took it like 2 or 3 times. So
Yeah.
So anyway, they had this section on the test that was all like, what they would say is they'd be like, you'd turn to the page and it'd say, a shoe is a lep. A shoe is a lep. And then the proctor, the teacher administrating the test, would read a bunch of actual words like nouns and then nonsense words that those were going to replace in the next part of the test. And then there would be a bunch of questions that would be like, Timmy forgot his lep.
So it's just sort of some
school.
like language.
Yeah, and then you had to be like, oh, and then it'd be like, what was wrong with Timmy? And then you had to be like, oh, he forgot. And then it's like, correct the sentence. And then you had to be like, Timmy left his shoe or whatever.
Oh, so it's asking you to translate from the word you just learned meant shoe.
Yeah, it's like memory but there would always
sounds like cult training.
Yeah, but I remember I distinctly have like this, like the audio burned into my brain of like these teachers just saying, a lep is a ball. Remember, a lep is a ball.
This is absolutely FBI kicks the door in, breaks in, like throws in a flashbang, and they find a group of kids just like staring at the teacher with the I guess they don't throw a flashbang. But FBI busts in and the teacher's saying, a lep is a ball. A lep is a ball. My God, we've got another one.
Yeah. It would be awesome
terrifying.
if the FBI flashbanged everyone. They're just trying to get information, but they flashbang.
The new guy's overly eager. Yeah. Well, they give us these fucking things. I want to pop a couple of them.
Yeah. They're like, well, that's only in the worst case scenarios when we can't get information.
Well, one of the kids could have had a gun, and now I've made it political.
Because everything is political.
Everything is politics. Everything is a lesson.
Yeah, everything is a lesson.
Everything can be a lesson. So I was invited, and it was like, logic puzzles or some sort. I really just remember being like, if you would tell me what it is you want me to be doing, I could probably figure it out. But I think they would just kind of like give you like, I was so little, some like a collection of like shapes, but it wasn't like, put them together in a puzzle. It was like, figure out what the meaning is here. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
It's
It's like you can't. Yeah, if
that's
you just,
different than standardized testing.
Yes,
this was
it
like
is.
I think it was supposed to be testing some sort of like there's probably a term for it, but like out of the box thinking kind of thing that like being able to apply. I don't know what the phrase would be, but like some sort of creative problem solving, I think was what it was testing for. And then and I was asked to leave. And I remember being like a little bit bummed that I was asked to leave, but also kind of like, this sucked. This was just extra weird work, but it was like kind of better than schoolwork. The other thing was maybe around the same age, Vanderbilt University is in Nashville, and research university. And for whatever reason, I don't know if my parents had to sign off on this or what, I would get pulled out of class every now and then, and I would be asked to play with some toys in front of like Vanderbilt University researchers. You had this?
I did a similar thing.
Were you researching the little boys playing with toys?
Yeah. I was a child researcher.
It was just at a public school in Nashville. And I don't know why the private research university was just given carte blanche to it's just like to study kids. It was so weird because it was like coming in this room and there'd be 2 people just sitting there watching me, and there'd be like some toys. Yeah. And like I was so painfully aware that there's 2 adults looking at me, and they gave me a fire truck.
Yeah, and you're just supposed to mess around. No, mine was less. Mine was all auditory. It was like I went in as like a small child, a toddler with my mom, and they had my mom like read things to me and me like say the things back because they were like studying auditory.
They were testing to see if you were autistic.
Yeah, probably. There's probably some aspect of that because that's what Jordan does a lot of the times is like she will like there are these tests that I'm like, oh yeah, now that I'm an adult and I hear them, I understand what they're for. But like to a kid, you're just like, yeah, why is this adult asking me all these like questions? And they're all just to gauge like a student's language ability and whether they like grasp. But then like oftentimes she'll be like, oh, the kids never answer the questions directly, but I don't fail them because like they innately understand what I'm saying. Yeah. They're just like in their own little world.
And I think the Vanderbilt research students were trying to assess whether or not I had telekinetic powers. Yeah. They said, here's the fire truck. Now let's see if he has to touch it to play with it. Yeah. I was in sort of a research program for gifted brain children.
Yeah. They say if they want to. Vanderbilt's just seeing if they can find a Magneto.
They said we need to find Magneto, but for plastic.
Yeah.
Plastic's going to be huge. Metal's on its way out. We got to get a kid who can be good at doing superpowers with plastic.
Yeah.
Because now it's in everybody's blood.
Yes.
Political again. And then they knew that was coming up, and they were looking for a guy who could control it all. I think maybe because I don't know. I was obsessed with like finding a superpower. I guess every kid is.
Yeah.
Wishing I had one. Trying to like convince myself like I can move. I can when I jump. If I jump straight up in the air, this is a thing I used to think when I was really little. I was like, I can jump straight up, but then in the middle of the air, I can change direction. Which is an insane. Like, what are you going to do with that?
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of people can do that. That's what like doing a 360 is. You're
No.
talking about rotating.
You're rotating. You're beginning your rotation on the ground with a 360.
Oh yeah.
I'm talking like I would be like I can run and I can jump straight, but then if I wanted to, I could like veer to the left in midair.
I guess but I guess you could. It's just that you can't do.
I don't think you cannot. You cannot veer. I think once you leave the ground, you can't veer left and right.
I mean, you can rotate your body a bit.
Yeah, you can rotate your body. I'm talking about I could be like I'm gonna go throw myself at this wall, and I could like turn. I could turn a little bit to the left and miss the wall.
Yeah, but I mean, like fish and dolphins can like flail a bit and influence.
Not in the air.
No, not. I mean, but they like flail. But if they had not flailed, they end up in a different. Like if a fish goes in the air,
you're saying you think these powers exist.
I'm saying that like it's funny that you as a kid think that you could do it to a noticeable like huge difference, but like that is possible for animals to do. Like if a fish jumps out of the water and does not move, it will land in a different spot than if it's like flailing a lot in the air, right? Am I stupid?
I think you're kind of dumb right now.
Like
if I jump off a diving board and I just jiggle around my body a bunch, I'm still hitting the part of the water where I jumped.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess you're not necessarily. Yeah, I guess your body's hitting a slightly different.
I think what you're thinking of is when the fish is. This is getting so bizarrely stupid and technical.
We're gonna have to cut this out.
No, this is the juice they want. This is how the fish be moving out of the water. So what you're noticing, Tom, I submit, is the fish is when ejecting itself from the water, breaching, and it's already got that motion going on with it. So that's going to influence where it's going to go. If a fish were just to somehow launch out of the water, just full still, and then started wiggling, it would not influence where it's going. And that's what this podcast is about.
But isn't there some sort of air it wouldn't resisting if you like?
I think it would take quite a lot of force, like a lot of speed and time in the air for aerodynamics really to be kicking in. I think a fish hopping out of the water for what's going to be like a foot, I don't think it's really doing much.
Okay.
Maybe something. I mean, flying fish and stuff like that.
I'm thinking of like aerodynamics has to take like.
But then that's like flight. That's gliding. Anyways, it's not a child just jumping straight up in the air and then being like, I can move 3 feet to the left.
Yeah.
I don't know where I got that. I don't know why I wanted that. And I think that's what I need to be working on in therapy is why did I want to be able to move laterally in midair? Where did I hear that was good?
I don't know. Did
you have any superpowers that you thought you had?
Yeah, I did think that I really wanted telekinetic powers, being able to read someone else's mind, know what was going to happen, or move something with my mind. I think it's several times I would look at something thinking I could move it with my mind and convinced that I moved it a little bit.
That's a good one. That would be that. Yeah, that was. I mean, you see the Force. You're aware of Star Wars.
That's what I got into it, or how I got into it. And then I would also get books from the library that would be like studies on like ESP or whatever. And I'd be like, it's real. I can harness this ability within me. Wow. It just takes practice.
And this says so much. This is why you're still so into ghost stories.
Yeah.
And I still think that I can move left and right in midair. And I think I'm a physical specimen. Mm-hmm. And you are mentally in ghost land.
Yes. Yeah. I still can.
And we're both delusional.
Ghost land, yeah. Yeah.
Mentally, I'm in ghost land. Is good merch.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to think if I had any other. I was obsessed. I mean, I'm sure every kid loves to make potions. I was obsessed with making potions in the toilet and flushing it down because I was like, I'm poisoning this whole city.
Yeah, chemistry with that. That ties. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to be a scientist when I was a little boy, and a pilot. I got laughed at in 5th grade for telling the librarian was asking everybody what they wanted to do when they grew up.
Yeah.
I think it was 5th grade. And I said, I want to be I said something like, I want to be a fighter pilot who's also a scientist. Fifth grade, I think, is a little bit old to be thinking like that.
Yeah.
But I was like, that's ideally, if I'm like, pie in the skying it, Miss Librarian, I want to be flying around. I want to be parking the jet. And I want to get out and do some science. And then I want to get back in that jet. And I got laughed out. I felt so much shame.
Well, and now we're laughing at this librarian because she could not foresee the era of the multi-hyphenate.
Right. Well, and
exactly.
she's dead cold in the ground.
Yeah, exactly. And we're alive, and we're podcasters, writers, directors, comedians, executive producers, chefs.
Yes.
The
era
scientists.
of the multi-hyphenate.
Yeah, we are also scientists.
Damn.
Just maybe not fighter pilots, but you could easily be a fighter pilot and a scientist these days.
I don't know that he's using it, but are you aware that I believe Brooks Wheelan, a guy I don't know how I know this, I think he was a chemist.
Really?
He did a chemist. That makes it sound like he's like mixing up phosphorus for old ladies. I remember when he got SNL, because it was the same year I believe that Tim Robinson did. And I was like, who is this guy? His Instagram or his Facebook or whatever it was back then. I remember like looking at it and be like, my God, he's like full on a scientist. He's like in a lab coat mixing up vials of stuff. But he should absolutely be, if he's not using that in his multi-hyphenate lifestyle.
Yeah.
Writer, actor, scientist.
Brooks Wheelan.
I guess
he's just got a podcast now.
Podcaster. We got to get him on, ask him if he still dabbles in science.
Yeah, I think he used to live somewhere in Los Feliz.
Okay. Tom, once again, showing his knack for doxing people.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it in another episode, but I really don't think it's a big deal to dox people.
I think it's funny to act like it is.
Yeah.
Any good teachers that you remember?
Yeah, I remember I had a good... I mean, elementary school, you have a lot of good teachers. I think I had a few good... I had a good video production teacher who kind of let me do whatever I wanted, which helped get me into comedy. I don't know if he was an objectively good teacher. A lot of the times, like, I could tell that he didn't care. And he could be kind of, like, mean sometimes. Mm-hmm. But... he was a good teacher, and he did help me out. Okay. He kind of let me do whatever I wanted in video production class.
Did you ever have any crushes on any teachers?
Yeah. I think when I was in middle school, I had some pretty banging student teachers who came in, because I went to in Bloomington is where IU is, so it's a big college town. So we had a big education school, so we'd have a lot of these college gals. Who would come in and be not substitute, but student teachers for a trimester, because we were on the trimester system. And so
Tom's mixing it up with the co-ed.
Oh yeah, so I remember one Spanish.
It's always the Spanish.
Yeah, one
teacher.
Spanish student teacher who had a massive jungos, and everyone was like, "Damn." She has some big tits.
Wow.
And then I remember an English teacher, and then both our English teacher and her student teacher were really attractive. And I remember all the guys, even in an AP or like an advanced English class, were like troglodytes. Around there, we're just like, whoa,
wow.
That's
like Little Rascals status. I've never seen that. Oh, no. No, I've never seen it. Like a group of kids, like little boys, be like, "Here's an apple for you, Miss." Whatever.
Yeah.
No, there was a Spanish teacher at my high school that everybody had the hots for. I, for whatever reason, didn't get it. Huh. I think she was just young. I think that's all. Like everybody else was old. But I don't think I ever had really any crushes on teachers. I was busy having crushes on age-appropriate crushes.
That's too bad. I remember another one of my crushes was on my AP government teacher, and she wasn't like
whoa.
Like she was like really fucking cool, and she was like understatedly hot, and she was like really chill and funny. And like sarcastic.
Do you have her number still?
No, but I know her name.
Dude, you've got to set me up with her.
Yeah,
she sounds like exactly my type.
Her name, and like she would, I think
Don't dox her.
What won me over is she would be like, my first name is Misty, and she was like, it's a full on stripper name, Pokemon. And so she was like, I have a stripper name. And we all thought that was really funny.
Misty, the Pokemon trainer from Pokemon Red and Blue.
Yeah.
Which would also be kind of hot and cool. There was a teacher at my high school that got fired for like physically assaulting a student.
Whoa.
I think this my friend Ted, he like, I think he was, I don't know if he was antagonizing this teacher or not, but I think he like didn't like, this guy was like sort of a bonehead. He was not Ted, the teacher was just sort of there's a lot of just sort of religious morons at the school.
Yeah.
And I cannot remember what he did to piss off this teacher, but the teacher apparently grabbed him by like the shirt and like pinned him to a locker and like, screamed at him.
Yeah.
And I remember like afterwards, Ted like came and told me this happened, and then was like, "I'm getting him fucking fired." And then like he for sure got fired. That,
I mean, you shouldn't. Yeah,
that's crazy.
It is crazy. It's crazy to put your hands on a kid, but like we've all been pissed off enough at a teen to do it.
Yeah.
You just know that you can't do it. There's one part of me that's like, oh, I bet that teacher. If the teacher was an old man, I'm like, fucking fire the guy immediately.
Oh yeah, old man.
There's part of me that's like.
If it's a young woman,
if a young woman,
just let her slap the boys around a little bit.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
Hold
on, Prince. Hold on, headmaster.
I'd like to see what she does. Hold on. Miss Simpson's riled up. Yeah. Let's see what she does to the boy.
I envision I'm like a social studies teacher telling the headmaster, "Hold on, headmaster." One moment, headmaster. Let her cook.
Let her.
But like, there's like, to me, if you're like a 24-year-old guy, and there's like some like 17-year-old who just like, I could see a 24-year-old guy like fucking snapping and being like, whatever, in 10 years this isn't going to be much of a difference. Just having a lapse in judgment. And
you're talking like a 17-year-old kid like assaulting a 24-year-old and the 24-year-old fighting back?
Or no, I'm just talking about a 24-year-old losing his riling him up and him being like, I'm going to show this. I mean, that's still bad. But like, I'm still like, sometimes children are put in control of children. But it's especially bad if it's, an older man, because then it's like, whoa, dude,
Did you ever have any teachers? I had teachers get really mad at me a couple of times. Did you ever have? Were you ever in big trouble?
I think I got in big trouble when I did the Pin 15 bit in like third or fourth grade.
That's where you write Pin 15?
You say you want to join the Pin Club, and the kid's like, yeah, I want to be in a club. And you're like, okay, you can be Pin 15. And then you write...
your penis.
You write penis on there.
And you got in big trouble for that.
I got in big trouble for that. There was another time, I think in high school,
also, if you can hear dog tags tinkling around, that's Chef has joined us.
Yeah, that's my dog, Chef.
Tom's long dog Chef.
Yeah, he's a 40-pound corgi that's very long, and he is active and is kind of like, what are you guys doing here?
Anyway, sorry, I just wanted to give context for sound.
Yeah, if you hear the little jingle jangle, it's my puppy dog Chef, and he just heard me hear his name. Anyway, so what I was saying, so I don't think I got in huge trouble, but you saying the teacher got fired reminded me of a juicy story of a teacher getting fired, not for putting hands on a kid, but he did get in trouble for having a relationship with a student. And this is the part I remember.
That's putting hands on a student.
Yes, putting hands on a student, but not in a violent way.
Yikes.
So he got in trouble, and the rumor is that he had sent her the not a straw that broke the camel's back, because this was kind of a major Mack truck. Was that he supposedly had texted this student, I want to drink your pussy juice through a straw. Through a straw!
Good God.
Yeah, I want to drink your pussy.
This is confirmed? This is what he said?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Because he got fired, and then all of the guys in my video production class were like, this guy, she taught, even worse, he taught in the freshman part of the school.
Right, it would have been better if it was a senior.
Yeah, it would have been way better if it was a senior. Well, in some cases, it would have been, they're 18.
That's fully legal.
It's somewhat legal. It wouldn't have been good, but it would have been legal.
God.
And this is just fully legal, fully bad. And it was like, not confirmed the text, but I'm like, also like, that's pretty specific. Like, maybe an 18-year-old would have made something like that up, but I think it would have been a little bit less intense. I think it would have been like, let's fucking the ass, instead of being, I want to drink your pussy juice through this.
Pretty intense.
Yeah, through a straw. Yeah,
really rough.
Yeah, and
I wouldn't say that to anybody today.
I would not either. It was confirmed. The text itself wasn't confirmed, but it was confirmed in context by other teachers who would be like, "Oh, you don't want to end up like this guy," or like, I think my two video production teachers were like, I think a little too candid, like alarmingly candid about school gossip sometimes, and they were kind of like, "Yeah, he was a fucking creep."
Whoa!
Like that guy was a creep.
Whoa, that's fucked up. I'd say that is way more fucked up than an old man getting mad at a 17-year-old boy who's being a little bit of a shit.
A little bit
of a shit heel. That's I have nothing funny to add to that.
No,
Yikes.
It's not very funny. I mean, the text itself is kind of funny, just out of context of it being sent from a man to a child. But
oh god,
it is that was the one teacher getting fired that I remember. I'm trying to think if I got in super big trouble. I never got suspended or expelled.
I never got suspended or expelled. I got detention, but I don't remember what for, like not wearing the right clothes or something at the Catholic school. I did have first off in kindergarten, I remember Miss certainly her name. Anyways, teacher whipping around, like somebody was at the door and she was like talking to them, and I was, I don't know, a child being annoying, and she whipped around and she goes, "Griffin, shut up!" Screamed that at me, and I was like, that was like, for whatever reason, I guess I was a little kid, and an adult was like showing anger at me.
Yeah,
Like, not my parents, it was crazy. And then in high school, a religion teacher said, "Griffin, maybe we'd get something done in this class if you weren't such a little shit."
Yep.
And I got in trouble just for kind of goofing around in a religion class, which is like, if that's you're asking for it. You're asking if you're teaching religion, you're asking for kids to be goofing around.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody taking that shit seriously.
Oh, you saying that reminded me of a time in college, and this was I was really embarrassed because it was in college, and I was old, and I was like, I do like this professor, but the professor like caught me nodding off, and like instead of being like, I don't think I would have cared as much if he would have been like, "Tom, wake up," and I was like, it was in class and everybody would have heard. I'd been like, "Oh, sorry," but he like. Everyone was walking out of class, and then he was like, "Tom, can I talk to you for a second?" And he wasn't like, "Hey man, will you stop falling asleep?" He was like, "Hey, it's really disappointing to see you. Like, you need to take care of that." He's like, "I don't care what you have to do. Just like drink a coffee, do something like that." And he really came down on me. I was like, "Oh my God," it felt awful.
Yeah.
I felt so bad. I was so embarrassed, but I was also like, I didn't drink coffee at the time, and I was like, it was also right after lunch, and I feel like I've always had a slump after lunch. So I was like, I wasn't bored, and I was like, "I'm so sorry. It's not because it's boring. I just like, it's not because of you. I just get tired after lunch." And he was kind of like, "What? I don't fucking care. Don't do it," you know?
Yeah. That's having an adult that you respect at all really, even if you maybe don't respect it. I feel like just disappointment is a teacher should be utilizing disappointment a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because that feels bad. Maybe we're just the kind of guy who responds to that, or like, it does feel, because I can imagine kids being like, "I don't give a fuck."
Yeah.
But damn, that sucks. Also, though, you're in high school, you're going through mad puberty. Teachers, I mean, I guess you don't want to. I don't know why this is what the podcast is, but like, it's fucking hard to stay awake when your body is stretching and you're gaining muscle mass and hormones blasting through you, and you've got an erection every 4 minutes.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, even in college, I went through like a second growth spurt, and I also like got really into weightlifting for some reason, because not for some reason, I wanted to have big muscles,
big bad daddy muscles.
But like, I would try and build, and I did for a bit. Like, I got muscly. It wasn't like ripped muscles, but I did get like bulky muscle, and that also made me tired because I like was lifting weights and eating a ton.
Did you get in fights in school ever?
No, never was in a single fight. I think that
did you ever have to break them up?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that because I was going in the more advanced classes, I think at some point kids are a little bit more like, have a little more decorum. Mm-hmm. Sometimes for the better and the worse, you know. Mm-hmm. You get the really uptight kids who are like, the rules are being broken, or like, but then like, you don't get like kids getting in fist fights.
I think they would happen kind of regularly around my school.
Was it both sexes?
Definitely saw or heard about a few women getting in fights.
But was it? But no, what I meant was your school separated by gender or sex.
No. It was co-ed.
Okay.
I did just remember that there was like one like very sort of sounds insane. One like sort of prominent like special needs kid at the school. Mm-hmm. That
like, I get what you mean. It's just
like,
funny.
It was like everybody was aware of this kid.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on, that he like for sure had like learning disabilities, but he was also like in high school, like functioning. And I just remember coming out to like lunch or something one day, and like there was like something happening, and I was like, "Oh, the special needs kid has fully used the N-word, and there's like black students are like we're going to fucking kill this guy.
Whoa.
Yeah. And I think, I just remember like, they were like also older than me. So I was just kind of like, I'm staying away from this. I said, this is a little too spicy for Griffin.
Yeah.
Usually I'd be over here riffing along about the big hullabaloo.
I don't need to wait for my frontal lobe to develop to know that this is a situation I should not be in.
This is a dangerous. Yeah, usually I'd be trying to curry favor with the black students, let them know I'm cool. But no, this one's a little bit too hot.
Yeah.
No, that was scary. And then I was almost in a fight once, but I've never really been in a fight. But I like had dated this girl in like freshman year of high school, and then a guy. We like broke up, and then like one of her friends was like hitting on her or something. And it was the day of AIM, and I don't remember how this was happening, but somehow one of his friends started messaging me on AIM and like this like kind of sort of vaguely threatening stuff. Like, I need to like fuck off and like leave his buddy alone so he can go hit on my ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
Or something of this nature. And I was just letting it fly. I was like, fuck off, you fucking cocksucking piece of shit. Fuck you.
Yeah.
I like fully don't know this kid at all. And then I'm like waiting for my parents to pick me up. This is freshman year. Waiting for my parents my mom to come pick me up, and this kid, massive student, comes over, like absolutely like 6'7" fucking linebacker, and starts like, you're pretty goofy, you're just so fucking goofy, bro. And I was like, what in the hell is going on? And then realized like, oh, this is the guy.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, and he like hit me in the head, and then I don't know how, but it was like a classic like group of guys would like circle around us, and like, get him, kick his ass, and I was just fully like terrified and like, what in the fuck is going on? Punched me in the head. I don't remember how it ended, but I think my mom got there. Or I like got away from it somehow. It was like truly horrible. I was fight or flight.
Consider that a fight. I would consider that a fight.
That's a fight, but I didn't like throw blows. I got punched once and was like, what in the fuck is...
And it immediately ended.
Yeah, I don't remember how
You said, I don't remember what happened. It sounded like you got concussed.
I got knocked out. No. I didn't get concussed. I was just like I just remember being like feeling like I'm blushing, like beet red.
Yeah.
And like terrified and like freaked out because like why is everybody hates me? What in the fuck is going on? That all these kids are like down for me to get my ass kicked.
Yeah.
By this massive kid. And then I think it was like, immediately at dinner, it was like, Griffin, what happened to your forehead? Because it was like, not bruised but red or whatever.
Yeah.
I was immediately like, this fucking kid punched me.
Yeah.
and just like immediately ratted on him. And I'll say that felt good because that kid sucked shit.
Yeah.
That sucked to do. Anybody who's like doing shit like that in high school, you deserve every bad thing that comes to you.
Yeah.
You deserve the meth addiction. You deserve... No, I don't know. I shouldn't put that on people.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think we could say it.
I have no tolerance for bullies.
Yeah.
And I think that they should die.
Yeah,
I'm slowly turning into a school shooter. I got to calm down the rhetoric.
I thought school shooters are not like, I'm doing this because of bullies, right? They're just,
I thought that was like kind of a stereotypical thing.
Oh, I think they just do it because they aren't understood.
Yeah.
Or they're mad at the world. It's not because like, oh, I'm bullied all the time. I think they're just like, I'll show all these idiots they don't understand that. Anyway,
we could do an hour and a half on school shootings.
Yeah, we should do a whole school shooting episode where we talk about our theories on on why school shooters are the way they are and how
you can get away with it.
Yeah.
But we should probably wrap it up.
Yeah, we should wrap it up.
Now that we've really brought it home on weird school shooting note.
Yeah.
That's my fault.
No, it's okay. I mean, you brought up
racism, school shooting.
Yeah, racism, school.
Trying to trick black people into liking me. All kinds of bad topics.
Yeah, all kinds of bad topics.
This is the character I'm trying to put forth. This is what I'm putting out in the world. A moron who's trying to manipulate people but can't.
Yeah.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
What were we just talking about, though? Yeah, getting
bullying.
In a fight. Yeah, bullying. I feel like the bullying is... I don't know a single person, and no one's going to admit, like, I'm a bully. I don't think... But I don't
Danny
think
Catlow will admit it right now.
Oh, really?
I could call him and he would do it.
Our friend Danny... Yeah, actually, I think I remember him saying I bullied a few other people. He is
proudly a bully.
Yeah, I think I definitely was not a bully, but I definitely had piled on at least one kid every once in a while. Mm-hmm. But, I think it's like there was a kid in our gym class who was just, but he would also try and be very cool, and he would like dish it sometimes too, and he'd be like, he'd try and be cool, he'd like rap for everybody, he'd be like, I can spit bars, and he'd start rapping, and you'd just be like, shut the fuck up, man, that sucks.
Yeah, that kid sort of deserves to be told, shut the fuck up.
And then he would also kind of be a, but then there were some times where like, I was a little bit mean to him, but it's also like, I also stuck up for him sometimes. I feel like I wasn't, but I don't want to make myself seem nicer than I was to the guy.
Do you know it's like a bumper sticker, and it's also like a meme that's like, I think it's a speech from something, but it's like, I'm not your friend, I'm not your enemy, I'm your worst fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
But it's like there's like a long version of it.
Yeah.
I heard a guy fully recite that at somebody who was like dating his cousin in the lunchroom.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. He thought it was so fucking badass.
Yeah, and I mean, that type of guy, like, if you don't bully him, his mind will calcify, and he will become the father who does the same thing when, like, any man gets near his daughter and is like...
Yeah, I think there was no change in this kid.
Yeah. There is an extent to, like, sometimes, like, getting bullied. Like, if me getting bullied for something was what sometimes changed my behavior to be a better person.
I would say getting made fun of, fine, acceptable,
yes,
beautiful thing. Bullying, not good.
yeah. I'm sorry. I think I was using the term being made fun of and then being bullied interchangeably, and they're different.
No,
being made fun of is helpful.
We should do our Radio Lab episode on bullying.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that.
Bullying itself is bad, and I can't believe as a almost 35, and I'm like, bullying is bad. Don't bully. And all the adults on there listening to our podcast are like, yeah, no fucking shit, man.
No fucking shit, but it happens, and it happens to kids. And I don't know. It's, as somebody who was bullied, I'd say quite intensely for a number of years, it was like profoundly disturbing and life altering in some ways, and like affected me to this day. So yeah, I don't know. As an adult, I don't really deal with it, but it is something that's like, I don't know. If I was around kids, I don't know what the fuck I would be doing to try to stop that, but I would be so hyper aware of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, for 3 years, it was like, I was just like fully on my own. Like nobody really knew that I was getting bullied.
Was it in high school or in college?
In middle school.
In middle school.
In middle school. Yeah. It was rough.
Was it in the Chicago improv scene?
It was in the Chicago. So for 3 years, nobody was supporting my organic openings. Everybody's like, "Oh, don't do whoosh, whoosh, whoosh." And I'm like, "Yeah." So I come in and I start beatboxing, and nobody's backing me up. For 3 years, Sharna didn't let me do an SNL showcase. Well, I showed her. I did one, and Colin Jost didn't get it. Lorne Michaels fell asleep into his plate of chicken tenders. And Steve, that one guy's dad, Steve Higgins,
yes,
was there. That's all I remember.
Yeah, Steve Higgins seemed to always pay the most attention, but was also the most ruthless, I guess.
Wow.
Supposedly.
Wow.
Anyway, you got bullied in middle school.
I got bullied really hard in middle school. Yeah. I was like, didn't have any friends and was like getting kicked anytime like teachers weren't around, and sort of just made fun of. I was talking to my therapist about this recently, and she was like, "So what were you getting like? But you were getting bullied for something. What was it?" I was like, "No, it was just in general. It was holistic bullying."
Yeah.
She, like didn't get it. Like, yeah, it was just like everything I did, who I was under attack.
Yeah.
It was bad to be like however I was being.
Yeah.
For like 3 full years.
And she was like, "Well, they weren't bullying you for your like, huge nose or your stupid mind, or
like how fucked up your ears look,
yeah.
How bad you talk."
Yeah.
No.
It's just I mean, I get it, but it's like sometimes there's just a group of people like, this guy is a target. We will make him a target.
That's fucked up.
Yeah,
I clearly never understood that, but I don't think I've ever done that to somebody, and I don't understand how a child would ever get that way. To be like, we're taking this kid down, this kid sucks shit.
Yeah, well, that's a whole other podcast. We got to bring a child development and be like, what? How did Griffin's bullies form?
Yeah, I could just talk. I could ask them. I lived with one of them in Chicago when I first moved. The main one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when I first moved to Chicago.
Really?
He went to IU.
Oh, yeah. I remember you telling me that.
Yeah. We became friends in high school.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Very strange.
And you lived with him, and did he ever acknowledge it?
This is a separate podcast. He has never acknowledged it. But also, it was like, I don't know, we were in middle school. It was deeply traumatizing for me, and I think probably just like sort of nothing to him. So
yeah, a walk in the park.
A bit of a walk in, yeah.
Another day.
He's a stone cold
prepping
psycho.
to go to IU.
Yeah.
He was just prepping to go to IU.
Yeah, just getting ready. Just getting ready to start dating women and punching holes in walls.
Yeah, which, hey, I knew a lot of those guys.
Yeah, I don't think he was one of those guys, but
Yeah.
he definitely some of our roommates in Chicago were that kind of guy.
Yeah, and if you're hearing stuff going on in the background, Griffin has gotten antsy and is playing with packing tape.
I just saw it.
He's the guy who has told me, says, Tom, I hope you don't laugh too loud. I hope you don't get too excited about something. And meanwhile, he's over here fucking touching everything on the table that makes noise and fiddling with things right by the microphone.
Well, I've been sitting still for quite a long time, being a good little boy.
Yeah, no wonder you got bullied in middle school.
Now I get to fidget. We're at the end of the podcast. I get to start touching doodads and fidgeting. That's my little treat for being so quiet.
Okay. Yeah, this is probably a good sign to wrap it up.
Talking about too many taboo topics and generally driving things into a dark hole.
Okay.
This is what I get.
Yep. Well, that was education. I hope Chris is happy about this one.
I think he's going to be pretty pissed off.
We stuck a lot to lower education and middle education.
I know.
A little bit of higher education.
We could have done a better job.
We could have talked about what we majored in, but we'll get to that.
We should maybe redo this one with prepared questions.
Yeah, we could try, but I think we touched on a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
We talked about the fish jump, how the fish be in the air.
How the fish be in the air.
Maybe we did a little educating
stuff.
ourselves. Maybe I got educated.
I feel like I fucked up the podcast.
I don't think you fucked it up, man. I think you're being a little self-conscious. I think this is that bullying come out.
Awful.
I think people will think the situation of the kids who have special need using the N-word and then almost getting beat up that's a sketchy situation.
Yeah.
That I think a lot of people probably had some type of weird thing like that go on.
Yeah, I just, anytime it feels like not funny, it's just sad. I go, oh, what have I done?
Well, podcasts we can experience a range of emotion on podcasts.
Oh, that's beautiful, Tom.
And that's that's why we listen to them, because we can laugh, we can cry, we can grow as people, we can, have no feeling whatsoever.
That's the beauty of the podcast.
Goober Time is produced by me, Griffin, and Lauren Talmadge. Executive produced by Tim McGower. Associate producer Ahmed Stork, and aspiring producer Little Jimmy Penn. Goober Time is engineered by Roger Goodrich and recorded at Detweiler Sound in Humboldt, Tupelo, Mississippi. Sound mixing by Reed Armband with music by Laser Monster, which is Griffin in the past. You can check it out at lasermonster.bandcamp.com. Tom's costume was provided by Padma Lakshmi, with catering provided by Kokomo's Mungo Lounge. Kokomo's, if you can't take her here, you can't take her anywhere.